All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jared Grosso. I'm CEO of the New Jersey Realtors, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. First and foremost, I want to thank the New Jersey Realtors leadership team, especially President Angela Sicoli, for coming up with the idea of providing more than just typical information, excuse me, especially during these times. I'm happy to have a national real estate instructor, a good friend of mine. She's also a realtor, Maura Neill, as our speaker for today's webinar, which is called Keeping in Touch with Clients When We Can't Actually Reach Out and Touch Them. You know, under the current circumstances with the COVID-19 stay-at-home executive orders, even though we have received clarity on that and that real estate is technically essential in New Jersey, we're still not doing business as usual. We're still having to kind of work around certain parameters and certain things that are out there and restrictions and people who are kind of concerned with being out there. So it's kind of a new way of life. And I think Maura is going to be able to share her strategies for keeping in touch with your clients, providing useful services, and staying top of mind with your clients, and how you could kind of connect with your clients during these difficult times. A little bit about Maura. She's a second-generation realtor who combines her love for the industry with her passion for education. As a social media and technology devotee, Maura speaks nationally on real estate technology, building your business via social media, customer service, and client retention. She's a lover of all things Atlanta. Maura lives in Johns Creek, Georgia, with her husband, Ben. They have beagles. Actually, they have 3 beagles, right, Maura? 3? I think their names are Charlie, Jarvis, and Bebe, or BB?
BB.
BB, sorry, BB. And I think you also have a cat, but you don't ever give out the cat's name.
No, she likes to remain anonymous.
Okay. Well, Maura, thank you so much for giving us your time, and I look forward to hearing your presentation today.
Well, thank you. I am so thrilled to be here. I have a couple of very special connections to New Jersey. First of all, I spent a lot of time there when I was a kid. My parents are from Pompton Lakes, so Passaic County. I spent a lot of time there with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles when I was a kid. As Jared mentioned, he and I are pretty good friends. We got to know each other pretty well on Charlie Oppler's campaign when he was running for first vice president of NAR. So New Jersey has a lot of special places in my heart. And I'm just so thrilled that Jared and his team reached out to me to come and talk to you guys a little bit this morning. So I've done a couple of these conversations and I didn't prepare a formal PowerPoint because, first of all, I think that's a little bit difficult and unwieldy when we're doing this via Zoom. But also I like the conversational nature of what we can do via Zoom. I would encourage you to use the chat box. Please ask questions, which I hope that I will get to all of them. But really, I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation about ways that we can be keeping in touch with our clients now. I know real estate in New Jersey, similar to here in Georgia where I am, is essential, but I think that there are ways that we are always essential to our clients, whether we're in the midst of a global pandemic or we are simply just their realtor during normal times. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the ways that we are always essential to our clients and how we can reach out and touch them, as Jared said, when we're not actually allowed to touch them. And even once our states fully open back up and it seems like it's business as usual, I think we're going to see that we're encountering several really new and kind of I hesitate to use the word groundbreaking because a lot of these technologies have been around for a while, but to our industry, they seem very new and groundbreaking. The technology that we have at our fingertips, which might have been, a little cost prohibitive in previous years, but it's becoming sort of this new normal that we're embarking on. So first and foremost, I think the way that you reach out and touch your clients in this time that we're in is simply to be reaching out to them. I think what I'm seeing on social media, especially from my clients, whether or not hair salons and Georgia got a lot of flack in the national media because when we opened up about 2 weeks ago, when they started opening up essential businesses, that was beauty salons, nail salons, and tattoo parlors. So we got a lot of people making fun of us for what our governor was seeing as being essential. But it really was this slow wave of opening up. Restaurants are now allowed to operate with some protocols in place, but a lot of them are choosing to stay closed because they see it as being more socially responsible. But similarly, what I'm seeing from consumers, from my clients, from my sphere of influence, is that they're really not comfortable leaving their homes yet. I have several clients who have posted with varying degrees of political shape to it, that they are still going to recognize a shelter in place, even though technically that's not where we are as a state with any sort of mandate or executive order. And I think the most important tools that we have at our fingertips right now are the ability to see into what our clients are thinking and feeling based on what they're posting on social media. And then this guy, using a phone as a phone. Picking up the phone and calling our clients, which in the ever heightening day, use of social media and technology and electronic communication, we seem to make phone calls less and less, just in general as humans. But what I've seen and what I've experienced with my clients and what I'm hearing from a lot of realtors around the country is that when you pick up the phone and you actually call your clients, the ones who are observing strict shelter in place, they're just loving the opportunity to talk to someone that they're not living with, right? Maybe they are having that, I'm so sick of only talking to my spouse every day. I'm so sick of only talking to my kids because we're having to do homeschooling, which I would say probably no one in the country, unless you are already a homeschooling parent, was truly prepared for. And I think too, a lot about my clients who are single, who aren't sheltering in place with anyone. We have a good number of our past clients who bought a property just themselves, and they have been sheltering in place for weeks at a time with very little communication, at least, in person or physical communication with anyone in person. So the most important thing I think that we can all remember is we have an opportunity to reach out, and probably as one of the only professional contacts in our clients' lives, they're probably not getting phone calls from their dentist or their insurance agent, or probably not even from their lender or their home inspector. But as their realtor, we have that very personal connection. There's the blurred lines between professional and personal that we are so lucky to have in our industry. So I think, first of all, just checking in with people is going to set you apart from anyone else in their life other than probably their family. And also checking to see if they need anything. What do they need from you that you might be able to provide for them that perhaps no one else has asked them? I'm seeing a lot of toilet paper swaps happen between realtors and friends and their clients. My good friend Joe Scott, who's a realtor in Boston, he posted the other day that he saw that one of his clients was like, does anybody have, I've literally gone to store after store after store and I can't find any toilet paper. And Joe was like, I have toilet paper. And funny enough, when he met with his client, she had baked him cookies. And if you think that that is a singularly real estate thing to do, if you go to Christy Teigen's Instagram, Christy Teigen, of course, is a model. She's married to John Legend, who's a singer. They did a toilet paper swap with a random person that had seen her. She had posted on Facebook several weeks ago, I make a mean banana bread, and I will trade a loaf of my banana bread for some toilet paper with anybody who has any. And a random fan saw it. And now granted, you might say, well, is Christy Teigen really meeting a random fan in a parking lot in Los Angeles? And there's video and photo proof that they did a socially distanced, socially responsible swap. Jared's nodding. I feel like maybe he saw this online. But just think about saying, calling people up and saying, what do you need from me right now? What can I help you with? What can I do for you? And I think one of the mistakes that I'm seeing some real estate agents make, especially on social media, is making it about the sale. I've been very disturbed by some of the memes we're seeing. The one that really annoyed me was the my government sees me as essential. How about you? That one I thought was pretty tacky. But the ones who are saying things like, if you're sick of the person you're quarantining with, maybe you need to buy a new house. Now's a great time to buy. Instead of making it salesy, make it very personal and very non-real estate specific. What can I do to help you right now? What is a need that you have? Most of your clients will probably say, I don't really need anything, but I just appreciate you checking in. But take that opportunity. However, this is a good segue into, what if they do need some real estate help? What if they do have some pretty real concerns? One of the things that our clients have asked us most for is data. And you as realtors have this singularly unique opportunity to be the provider of hyperlocal information. The information that our clients and our spheres of influence are seeing in the media is it's usually pretty bad, right? It's not hyperlocal. It's not local at all. It is based on national statistics, oftentimes from a source like Zillow or Inman. And so what we want to do, and what I think our responsibility is in times like these, is to really make sure that our clients are getting the most accurate data and information. One of the things that we've started doing, and let me see if I can share my screen. New Jersey Realtors, could you enable screen sharing for me? If not, it's not crucial, but if you can, that would be great.
Go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. So I can't take full credit for this because my very good friend Brian Copeland in Nashville, Tennessee, posted this on his Facebook page a couple days ago. But we've started pulling some very specific statistics. Some of our clients who thought they would want to be selling this year. We had what I'm sure you guys had is some people who really, really needed to sell were ready to do so. And they needed to list whether we were in the midst of a pandemic or not. Other people are sort of putting the brakes on, maybe backing away from that a little bit. We have several sellers that we had photographed, got their listing staged and ready, and then they wanted to wait a little bit because of shelter in place. And I completely understand that. You don't necessarily want people walking through your home for showings, but also they didn't want the days on market to reflect what might be a slower showing time. So what we've started doing is pulling some data from our MLS. This is our single family home data. We're pulling it for the zip codes that we typically work. And we're doing a very simple comparison between what did April 2019 look like versus what did April 2020 look like. April was our only month that we were fully sheltered in place because that order came down for us at the very end of March. So we're compiling some data and some statistics that we're going to send out to our clients that shows, comparing April 19 to April 2020, the total sales. And while total number of sales may be down, we're also going to pull in total number of new listings, which we just haven't gotten to that yet, but also average days on market. So total sales were down, but then look, average days on market are down. Average price is up 14.5% up on average, 12% up based on the median sale price. So looking at that year over year change, when last year our spring was a boom, spring is busiest for us pretty typically once things start blooming, so does the real estate market. So think about the data that you can be sending to your clients right now. It's reminding them in a very subtle way that what we do is real estate, but it's also reminding them in a not so subtle way that our specialty is providing them with data and information that is specific to their needs, to their location. That's not something that they're going to get when they look at Zillow, when they look at the national media, or any way that they could compile and see data on their own. It's also our job to not just pull the data, but also to be able to talk about it and explain it. So think about if you were going to embark on something like this for your market area, how do you drill it down even into smaller components? So for example, when we send this out to our clients in 30022, we'll look at some very representative neighborhoods as well. So we won't just send the whole zip code. We'll also drill it down by school district, and we'll drill it down by potentially into specific neighborhoods. And then also that call to action, which is so important on all of the ways that we communicate with our clients. The call to action will say, if you don't see your neighborhood reflected here, or if you want more specific data just for your neighborhood or just for your school district, please reach out to us and let us know. And then we'll be able to have that one-on-one conversation, pull the data that they're specifically interested in, and be able to get that out to them as well. And what we all find, and I think you all will agree with, is that oftentimes it's not necessarily an indicator of that client being ready to buy or sell, but people just crave information, which is why the Zillows and the Trulias and the Realtor.coms are so interesting to people, because they're craving information and data, but we need to continually drill home to our clients and to our spheres of influence that we are the people who can provide them the most accurate and up-to-date data. So it's not so much to give that sales pitch of look at what a great time it is to sell. It's more to give the information and say, this is how I'm interpreting what I'm seeing from a year over year basis. So yes, our number of total sales were down, but our average days on market went down. That's an inventory issue, right? So if you're thinking about selling, now could be a good time, especially as we continue to open up the state. And also looking at the much more positive, especially for these top 3 zip codes, is that average price and median sales price did go up. Of course, down here, this is my zip code. It tends to be not necessarily my specific house, but it tends to be a higher priced zip code. And there's a huge increase in the number of luxury homes in this 30350 zip code. And unfortunately, what we did see is a slight, a drop in total sales, a drop in days on market, but also a slight drop in average price. But that's also really good information for our clients, because we have several coming up who are going to be new listings in those luxury price points. And they need to see that as well. They need to see that the average prices and the have slipped a little bit. And I think that that's information that is important to share, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So as we're looking at these ways that we can use the data, ways that we can communicate this information, I think it's also really important to this conversation to start talking about the ways that our businesses may have changed, because oh, sorry, I'm reading a comment. I think they're asking, can I help you is not a good idea. Okay. I mean, yes, I have gone shopping for several elderly clients who were uncomfortable leaving their homes. So yes, I've asked, how can I help? Just to answer this question from Kenneth, I've asked, how can I help? And in some circumstances I have gone, but in other circumstances, we've been able to pair people up with others in our community that we know are doing things that might be helpful to them. So I don't think it's ever a bad idea, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't think it's ever a bad idea to ask someone how you can help them, because even if you aren't going to be the specific service provider, of the help. I think that you can often, one of our jobs, one of the things that we do for our clients really well as realtors is we're connectors. So you may have someone that you can recommend to them who is someone who can help them in their circumstances. But thank you for asking. I want to talk a little bit about the new normal for the technology that we have that we're able to use. We've had several clients who are moving into the Atlanta area in the next several months who were in very strict shelter in place situations, and they weren't really able to get here to look at properties. The good news is we have so much technology at our fingertips right now that we were able to get those buyers into houses basically on a sight unseen basis. So thinking about the services that you can provide to your clients on the listing side, making it possible for buyers to see every inch of every one of your listings is, I think, something that the consumer is going to start to expect from now on. There's a really great real estate speaker. He's actually out of Australia. He works for Box Brownie. Boxbrownie.com is an imaging service, and they do 360 tours, and they do image touch-ups, and they have a lot of really great and very affordable services. And he taught a really great class the last time he was in the States before he had to go home to shelter in place in Australia. But he taught a really great class that was an eye-opener for me. And the title of his class was Third World Marketing in a First World Country. And what his company has done, what Box Brownie has done for this presentation, is they've looked at the typical real estate marketing from all over the world and all of the countries in which they work with real estate agents. They compared American real estate advertising to Canadian, Australian, British, and in Thailand. And what he found, and what they have found across the board, is that in all of the countries that I just mentioned, except for the United States, the norm is that the majority of listings have not just professional photos, but they have actual video virtual tours, not photo slideshows that your MLS sets to, some cheesy background music for you automatically. I know that's built into my MLS, and we just turn that feature off because they're going to look at the photos on their own. They're not going to wait for them to slowly slide past them in a slideshow. So not just professional photography, but actual video tours, 360 tours. One popular version you might know of most likely is Matterport, but Box Brownie actually offers their own platform for this now that is a fraction of the cost. And additionally, every listing comes with a floor plan. And that was a big eye opener for me, because we already did professional photos for every listing, whether it's a $75,000, studio apartment listing all the way up to a multi-million-dollar home. We were already doing professional photography and real video, but we've started doing, and I'll share my screen once more. Let me open this up really quickly. We have started doing floor plans for every single one of our properties. So I'll show you an example of that in just a moment. But we've also started doing the 360 tour. So this is a, oops, that's, let me pull, here we go. All right. So I want to show you a before and after. So I had a bit of a mental block against the idea of being able to draw a floor plan on my own. This is not something that the majority of sellers in our market have at their disposal unless they bought the property as new construction. If they bought the property as new construction, then they have to have kept all of the builders' paperwork and things. And we know how organized our sellers can be sometimes. Some of them have that massive notebook full of everything that they've ever gotten regarding the house. And some of them say, I couldn't find my owner's title insurance policy if it was worth $1 million. So basically, this is just a drawing that I do on graph paper that shows the floor plan of the property. You can see it's not that neat. It's a little bit messy. My handwriting is everywhere. Where you see these smudges, that's me with whiteout tape, whiting out my notes to myself and my comments. But when you upload them to a site like Box Brownie, this is what it ends up looking like. And so first and foremost, this goes into our MLS, and we do have a disclaimer down here. It's probably hard for you to see because it's tiny, but it says that this is meant to be approximations just to give you an idea of the flow of the property. It is not meant to be attached as an exhibit to the contract, but this is something that no one else in our market is doing right now. So it's just me and a tape measure and some graph paper and about an hour of my time when the photographer is there doing his photos. And that's been a huge value add for us because it means that a lot of our properties that buyers may have wanted to see during the shelter in place, now they've got professional photo, they've got video, and they've got a floor plan. In addition, we have started doing those 360 tours. So this is an example of that exact property that you just saw the floor plan for. And if we go to the front of the house, so you can scroll around. You can see it's just like a Matterport. My experience with Matterport back in the day when it first became popular was that it was about $5,000 to buy the camera. I know that price has changed a little bit recently, but this was shot with a $350 Ricoh Theta V camera. And this is giving you that full 360 experience. You can look at the light fixtures. You can advance in the property to a different room, just like Matterport. And it gives you the opportunity to show that buyer of your listing exactly what they're getting, so that when we say that you can virtually see all of our listings, you absolutely can. I had an agent on a webinar with me the other day say, who does all of these things similarly to us, say the only thing you can't do in one of my listings is make sure that it doesn't smell bad. So obviously buying sight unseen doesn't work for all buyers, but in a scenario where if you have elderly clients, for example, and you want to make sure that the only buyers who are physically entering their property are the ones who have already decided that this is a property that they could see themselves living in, and the very last step for them before writing an offer is for them to physically visit the property, but they've already seen all of these other things. They've already seen your video, your 360 tour, the floor plan, the professional photos. Maybe they've driven past the neighborhood. They are comfortable with and familiar with the schools. And once they have done all of that, especially if you're still in a shelter in place, or you have clients who are high risk, who really want to minimize the number of people that are coming through their homes, the more technology that you employ and deploy on behalf of your sellers, the better. Similarly, if you have buyers who are in a similar situation, we had some older buyers who didn't feel comfortable walking through a bunch of houses. So we also had our shelter in place buyers who physically could not get here because we were all in a shelter in place situation in April. Having the ability and also the willingness to get out to the properties, just you, and then you can put those precautions in place that make you comfortable. Booties on your shoes, gloves on your hands, mask on your face, whatever it is that you're following as far as your protocol. Having the ability to say to your clients, let's do a Zoom-based showing. Let's FaceTime in the property. They'll have to have a tremendous amount of trust in you, and it won't work for every buyer. But if your buyer truly trusts you to have their best interests at heart, and the last step before them making the offer is having a virtual walkthrough with you, and then you can take your phone and you can give them really close-up looks at the things that they can't get up close to if there are all these other things in place, like a video and a 360 tour. But think about the ways that you can use technology that assist not only your sellers in making sure that only serious buyers are coming through the property, if that's something that's important to them, but also your buyers in being able to see properties virtually that maybe they wouldn't want to, or they can't physically get to at the time that they need to for their purchase. We have a lot of buyers who need to move and they either can't get here or they're afraid that the market is moving too quickly, as it does here for us under normal circumstances. But as you saw from our spreadsheet, those average days on market are going down in every zip code. Inventory is low for us, even lower than it was last year. And that's an issue that we see for our buyers getting into properties in a timely fashion. So these new protocols that we can put in place, showings via Zoom, showings via FaceTime. These are also things, again, to get back to that sort of client care and reaching out and touching your clients. These are things that you can do to supplement or to replace for now, maybe some of the in-person client events that you would have had. We put out a survey to our clients right in the beginning of our shelter in place, so right at the end of March, and we said, what kinds of things would you be interested in participating with us? And we gave them several options. One was virtual happy hour, and we've done several of those now via Zoom with clients. One was, my husband is really into fitness, and so we've offered up virtual workouts with him via Zoom, and several people have taken advantage of that. We did a virtual Sunday supper with Maura and Ben on Sunday evening, and we had about a dozen people Zoom in for that, but it was basically us in our kitchen. We love to cook, and so we did kind of a cook along. It was a cross between a social hour and a cooking show. So people got to hang out with us in our kitchen while we cooked supper on Sunday night. And a lot of them were asking questions like, oh, we made ribs and collard greens. So we were looking to be pretty Southern theme-wise. And several people had never made collard greens before. So they were asking us a bunch of questions. What are you putting in it? What can you use as a spice? What can you use as an alternative spice? So we're going to do another one of those in 2 weeks because that was pretty successful. I've done virtual coffee hours with a couple clients where we just sit and have a cup of coffee together and talk to each other via Zoom. And Zoom has a great free account option that you can use. It's if you go to zoom.us, you can sign up for a free account. It does limit you to 40 minutes. So it'll cut you off after 40 minutes. And then, or it'll give you in some instances, it'll give you the opportunity to add another 40 minutes on. But honestly, what they want is for you to do a paid account. If you feel like you would use it a lot, the paid account is only about $120 a year. So that might be something that you do a free account now and you see how your usage has been of it. And then maybe you upgrade at a later time if you found that it's been useful. But we use it for Zoom showings. We send clients a link and go out and tour properties with them virtually. And we use it for this kind of client event, which has been really, really useful to us. Some of the other things that we've been doing, I'm very heavily on Facebook. I engage a lot more on my personal profile than on my business page. So we're friends with, as I said earlier, those personal and professional lines often in our industry are a little blurred. We often become friends with our clients, as I'm sure you do. You see that kind of across the board. But I keep an eye out on Facebook for what people are experiencing right now. And I use that as a way to gauge whom to reach out to next. Several clients of ours have lost family members during this time, not necessarily to coronavirus, but just have had parents die of old age or have lost a pet. So that's a really great opportunity for you to take under any circumstances, but especially right now where they may not be able to have the funeral that they want to have because it has to be virtual because we still can't have gatherings of more than 10 people. It's a really great way to look out for opportunities to send handwritten notes. People are finding ways to not put their lives on hold, even in the midst of being in self-quarantine or shelter in place. We have a client who is planning their wedding. So, being able to call them and say, I'm so excited. I'm enjoying watching you, following you, planning your wedding and seeing the adventures that you're going through on Facebook and the way that you're having to experience this. And I just, thank them for sharing that kind of thing with you, and see, kind of where their spirits are, and wish them good luck, or wish them congratulations, or pass on your condolences, whatever is the most appropriate for their scenario. We have several clients who have seniors in high school and seniors in college who are graduating. Think about doing something nice for them. Think about sending that handwritten note, or that graduation present, graduation card, gift card, whatever it is that you might be able to do to lift their spirits and make their time right now a little happier, a little easier. I find that it was really easy for a lot of us to kind of turn inward, especially at the beginning of the shelter in place, where we were all adjusting to what it's like to be stuck at home, what it's like to have our normal days and personal lives and business lives be a little interrupted by all of this. But as we became accustomed to that, finding those opportunities to then look outward are so important. And then the last thing, let me look at the Q&A really quickly before.
Maura, actually, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Somebody would like you to repeat the vendor that helps you with the floor plan.
Yes, it's Box Brownie, and I can type that into the chat box. It's boxbrownie.com.
Great.
And please check them out and look at their pricing. They do everything from item removal in an image. So for example, we photographed a listing last week that has some blackout paper put up in the window that faces that's the front of the house. And it's because they have an infant who they black out the sunlight, the sun, their house faces west. So as the sun goes down and they're trying to put their child to bed, the light is just shining through the window. So they had put up this blackout paper. It doesn't look good from the front of the house. So the front house photos look like there's something weird going on. For $4, they were able to virtually remove that really kind of messy looking blackout paper. It is removable, so we're not editing a listing in a way that is misleading. Because when the house does, they're in the process of moving out, they're gonna take that blackout paper down. The window will be clear at least by the time of closing and be perfectly fine. But for the pictures, we really wanted them, we didn't want anyone to think like there's something wrong with that window. Is it broken? Has it been boarded up? So they were able to remove that. If you have a rental property, for example, and you want to photograph it but you don't want the tenant's belongings in the photos, they can do that image removal. They can turn a daylight photo into a dusk photo, but they also do the 360 tour management. I think I'm paying $24 to have that 360 tour I just showed you hosted on their website for a year. And for me, that's kind of a no-brainer, especially since I don't even need it for a year. I mean, that property's probably going to sell in a week. Average days on market in that neighborhood is 0. So hopefully, we won't need that hosting for a year, but that's going to come in really handy for my luxury price points where we may need that 1 year hosting period. So it's very affordable when I compare it to other platforms like Matterport hosting and such. And somebody said, did you say except the US? How does the US compare to other countries? I don't have rankings per se, but the point of the presentation that he gave, just to answer Marie Rose's question, is that the United States is one of the only countries, even when compared to Thailand, that doesn't have a floor plan, a 360, actual video, and professional photos. He said it's more common in the US for them to see photos taken on an iPhone, really bad photos, really badly taken, like in vertical mode instead of horizontal, so in portrait versus landscape, blurry photos, dark photos, unedited photos. So we were the worst of all of the countries that he was comparing it to. Which it's just a really interesting thing to think about, because we tend to think we're a little egocentric here in the United States. We tend to think that we are, the top world power. But when Thailand is advertising their real estate listings better than we are, and they're not considered a first world industrialized country. That was a pretty telling situation. And also he was comparing, not to get into antitrust, but he was comparing average commissions earned in all of the countries. We by far outrank all of those countries in what we get paid as realtors and what we charge for commission. So by almost double in most cases. So it was just a really interesting tell for me that there's so much more that we could be doing to prove our value to consumers, especially as we haven't heard about iBuyers as much right now, because a lot of them, what we're hearing is a lot of the hedge fund money is dried up, and Zillow has pulled out of Georgia. They're not purchasing properties anymore right now. Open Door has laid off, I think, 35% of their staff. They're not doing as much right now in Georgia. But I think that as we come out of this, those hedge funds are going to be replenished. And I don't think iBuyers are gone for good. So we have a great opportunity right now. And I can't speak for New Jersey, but maybe somebody can enlighten me on that front. But in Georgia, for us, a lot of the iBuyers are completely dark right now. They're completely quiet. So we have a great opportunity to provide that essential service, to be essential to consumers and to prove to them once again that they need us, but also to continue to improve our value to them, which I also think is pretty crucial. And this is a great time to do it, not just by providing those personal services like calling, checking in with people, being a friend, but also being a resource in a very professional way. But I think by being the ones who are providing the accurate data and the up-to-date real estate information that I think our clients crave right now.
Martha, you bring up a good point. It's about positioning yourself right now as the source for information. Somebody asked a question about providing your data points, the Excel points that you put up earlier on. Do you put them out on Facebook, or do you only email those to clients or individuals?
So we generally, in the past, I've put them on my business page because we don't so much use it as, we used it more as marketing, right? In the past, under normal circumstances, we've used it for, marketing for new listings or showing that it's a great time to buy or great time to sell, and highlighting the zip codes where we work. What we're going to do this time around right now is we're going to put them into an email newsletter. My husband is fantastic at marketing. He'll probably put together some kind of an infographic. And we do have our mailing list broken out into where our clients are. So we know, we can send the Johns Creek, Georgia statistics just to the clients who live in Johns Creek. We can send the Suwanee statistics just to the clients who live in Suwanee. And, but we will probably also be putting them onto Facebook. But we want to give that call to action. If you don't see your zip code reflected, or if you want more, even drilled down even further into your school district or your community, reach out to us and we'll be happy to run those numbers for you. And I did see a question that popped up and it disappeared, and it was, where did I get those statistics? I'm getting them from my MLS. So I'm physically going into the MLS. I'm looking up the sales numbers from April of last year, and then I'm looking up the sales numbers from April of this year, and I'm compiling them, and I'm creating that spreadsheet on my own for my own purposes.
And if I could just do a plug for the association here at New Jersey, we contract with a company called Showing Time that gets all the statistical data from the MLSs, and we provide reports for our realtors free of charge. We actually also pay for a video called a skinny video that kind of gives a market update on a monthly basis that we put up onto our website, njrealtor.com. And they could download that and they could put it up on their social media channels. And the individual county reports could be put up on their social media channels. The individual town reports could be put up on their social media channels. So you have those resources available to you at njrealtor.com.
And that's please, call or email your New Jersey Realtors and thank them for that. That is a huge service that they're doing for you. I think that when an association is willing to go above and beyond and provide statistics for you to share with your clients, you still should be the one who's disseminating that data. You still should be the one who is explaining to your clients how to read it and how to understand it and how to make those comparisons for themselves and see where the relevance is for their own property. but to have a lot of that legwork done for you, that's a huge plus. Douglas says, I was referring to the information about professional photos. Oh, the statistics about, yes, I sat in an education session with one of the owners of Hvac Brownie, and that's where I got that information about the third world countries. And I don't have all of his specific data points. He shared some of them, but a lot of them, it was just doing a compare and contrast and showing us, this is the average listing in Thailand versus this is the average listing in the United States. But they do compile a lot of information, and I'm sure that one thing that would be great, Jared, is assuming that we're back to business as usual in December at Triple Play, get Hvac Brownie to be a vendor or a sponsor, or I'm not sure how that works for y'all for Triple Play, but and Peter, I'll send you his information, but Peter would probably be more than happy to teach that class.
And we'll be happy to take his money too as a sponsor. That'd be great.
Hey, take his money. Take his money all day long.
Maureen Murphy, who's in charge of our convention, she's on this, so she's listening. We have another question for you, Maura. How do we get more leads or maintain business activities in general when we are still limited in physically getting in touch with clients?
I think it's all about, I think first of all, it's about being regularly in touch anyway. I think one thing that we don't do well as an industry is, and I'm gonna give you a roundabout answer, but then I'm gonna get there. So be patient with me, whoever asked the question. I think that one thing we don't do well is we don't keep in touch with our past clients consistently or efficiently. And I'll say I've been guilty of that over the years as well. You know, the busier we get if we are in a super busy market, sometimes that's the first thing that falls by the wayside. And there's the NAR statistic from the profile of home buyers and sellers that 92% of buyers and sellers would use the same agent again, but only 10% do. And the reason that is most heavily cited is they don't remember who their agent was because their agent didn't keep in touch after closing. So one thing that I think, if you have some, I hesitate to call it downtime because it's not really downtime, but if you have time on your hands and you're looking for dollar productive things for you to do, think about going through those checklists that you have, not just the checklist for when you're in the contract period, contract to close, but your post-closing plan for your clients. We have a 10-year post-closing plan that we have, and it's a lot of it is drip marketing and automated, but it's not just, hey, if you're thinking about buying or selling, get in touch. It's very calculated. So in the first 6 months, we reach out the most often. We're giving them helpful information about home maintenance and especially to our first-time home buyers, things they should be remembering to do, like change their furnace filters and, get their HVAC serviced, for example. So in that first 6 months, we're the most communicative. But then after that, every 6 months, we send market statistics on what's going on in their neighborhood. And it's not a hard sell. It's not are you looking to sell right now? It's just, here's a snapshot because you might be wondering what's happening in your neighborhood right now. We do the personal things like birthday cards and home anniversary cards, but we also are making sure that we're sending them helpful and timely information, how to appeal their property taxes, what expenses on their home might be tax deductible from the year that they purchase and then every year thereafter, because a lot of our clients do work from home. How to making sure that they apply for homestead exemption, and making sure that they're checking their property to make sure, how to set up a Google alert on their property has been a big one because there are still rampant Craigslist rental scams in the metro Atlanta area. So that's something that we are just providing timely information and reminders for our clients, in addition to doing some client events. So how can you make that work for you right now? Well, first of all, make sure that you have a very firm post-closing plan in place for all of your closings, and don't be afraid to implement it after the fact. It doesn't have to start on the day that someone closed. Look back at your client list and consider looking out for those people that maybe you haven't been in touch with for a while. Maybe you did drop the ball. It's never too late to get back in touch. I know when I used to be on a team And when I left that team in 2012, I had been not very good on my own with getting testimonials written about me from past clients. And I'd been on that team for 6 years. I went back to the very beginning of my very first day as a licensed realtor and made a list of all of my clients. And I reached out to all of them systematically. My good friend, Bobby Howe, who's a realtor in St. Joseph, Missouri, she had taken about 2 years off from selling. And when she got back into selling, she had a number of circumstances. Her mother had passed away, and then she had a baby, and she had done some virtual assistant stuff to work from home and take a break from selling. When she got back into selling, she did the same thing. She went back to her very first day in real estate and just started systematically reaching out to clients and saying hi, asking how they're doing, asking for a testimonial. So if you're one of those people who said, who think to yourself, oh, it's too late now, I've lost touch with those clients, that was 5 years ago. It's never too late. Some of those clients that I sold a house to in 2006, 2007, 2008, when I reached out to them in 2012, they're like, oh, it's so good to hear from you. I'd love to write you a testimonial. Hey, we've been thinking about selling. And so consider it never too late. It's never too late to reach back out to past clients. And when you're having limited ability or limited access to being with them in person, I mean, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Now is a great time to get some consistency in your marketing plan. Consider starting a monthly email newsletter. It seems impersonal, but I think it's only impersonal if you use the ones that are written for you. Take 30 minutes once a month and write a personal letter to your clients that goes into your email newsletter. Share a little bit about yourself. Don't use the canned ones that come from companies that try to sell you on, we'll keep in touch with your clients for you, because consumers see through which program are you? Okay, I'll get to your question in 1 second. Consumers can see through an advertising message in a heartbeat. There's a great statistic from Pew Research that says that I think it's 94% of consumers trust peer reviews and recommendations from sites like Zillow, so Zillow reviews, TripAdvisor, OpenTable, Yelp, but only 14% of consumers trust advertising. And the difference is advertising is what we say about ourselves. Those reviews and testimonials are what others say about us. So go back in your database and get those reviews and testimonials from clients that maybe you forgot to ask, or maybe it just hasn't been a habit for you. Antonia says, which program are you using for your client database? I use RealVolve, and I will type that into the comments. I use realvolve.com. I've tried just about all of them. I've done Top Producer, I've done Contactually, I've done Insightly, I've done Wise Agent, Agent 360. Some of your brokerages may have one for you that is built in. I know I spoke for a brokerage in New Jersey the other day that they have a contract with MoxieWorks. That's great if that works for you. RealVolve is really affordable. I think we pay less than $100 a month to have 3 users on our account, myself, my husband, and my assistant. And it's our database, but it's also our transaction management, and it's where we put all of our contract to close checklists. It auto emails, it can auto text. So you can set all that stuff up for yourself and then have it be doing the work for you. And I want to make a quick comment on that. I think automation gets a bad rap in our business. Some people, I've heard some agents say, oh, I would never automate my business because that's so impersonal. But it doesn't have to be. Automation can just mean that you're automatically reminding yourself, you're automatically getting a calendar reminder through your CRM to reach out to somebody. It doesn't have to be super impersonal drip marketing. And the more that we automate for ourselves and our clients, the easier it is for us to have those personal connections, because the professional connections are happening automatically. So think about having a CRM or a client relationship management database or a transaction manager that has the capability to auto email and even auto text for you, things that you can set up in advance. My one caveat would be make sure that you're writing all of those emails and texts yourself so that they sound like you. Don't use the canned ones that come with those databases. And also keep an eye on your auto postings. whether it's an auto email or auto postings on social media, there were a lot of tone deaf marketing messages that were going out in the very beginning of the coronavirus situation in this country, because people weren't turning off their automatic social media posts or their auto emails. And they were, things were getting sent out that were pre-coronavirus that probably should have been put on hold for a little bit.
Maura, I know we got about 3 or 4 minutes left. A couple of questions. Any special tips for those realtors whose business includes secondary homes? This one's particularly asking about the shore areas.
I think now more than ever. So I own a secondary home. I know Jared does as well. We've talked about seeing each other's families, me coming to the shore and them coming to the mountains in Georgia. But it's one of those things that you talk about and talk about and talk about. No one ever has time.
It'll happen sometime.
It will happen. No, but all joking aside, this is one of those scenarios where I think the data is more important than anything. We were getting some really scary news out of the where our cabin is located in the mountains. When that county went to shelter in place, we were not even allowed to visit our own property. The shelter in place in that county, because it's so heavily short-term rental, was so strict that we weren't allowed to drive into that county to visit a property that we own, even just to check on it. They said, if you drive into the county, you better be driving straight through. And that was in the city council's or the county commissioner's executive orders. So this is a great opportunity. This is a great place for you to team up with your state association and the governmental affairs team. And I hope Jared blesses me mentioning this. I know you have a great governmental affairs team there, but as we were entering into shelter in place, a lot of cities and counties and townships and municipalities were putting their own restrictions in place in addition to what the state was doing. So being able to have that resource and have that connection and that relationship with your state association, where you can reach out and say, what do my clients need to know right now who have a house down the shore? Or what do I need to know right now that is pertinent to my market, which is this secondary home market? Also, being able to put out data like we were talking about earlier to your clients who own, because if you sell heavily in those markets, I'm guessing that a lot of your owners are absentee, a lot of your buyers are absentee buyers, and your sellers may be absentee sellers because it is their second home or their vacation property. Sending them up to the minute information about, this is how this is affecting our market. If it's bad news, give them the bad news. Give them that the statistics are down, but be able to use your unique market knowledge and your expertise and the way that we are able to in our profession to forecast trends and to look forward and say, yes, we're down from where we were last year, but hey, our busiest months are coming, and this is why I'm saying that, because this is what the trend is. But make sure that you're giving them information that's accurate, whether it's good news or bad news, because not only does that solidify and cement their trust in you as their trusted source of information, but you're also showing that you're looking out for them. And I think most importantly, we're in all of these scenarios, we're giving our clients information before they come to us and ask for it. We are providing that information and saying, this is what I know, this is what I'm seeing, I'm sharing it with you, not because I'm asking you if you want to buy or sell right now, but because it's my job and I take it very seriously to keep on top of these trends and market statistics, and to make sure that I'm passing that along to you in an accurate way. Because otherwise they do go to the Zillows and the Trulias and the Realtor.coms, and they look at information that's not up to date and not accurate.
Right, and actually that's a good segue for me. We did get asked a question, does njrealtor.com give breakdowns by towns and by zip codes? The answer is yes. We have that information available to you on our website. If you go to njrealtor.com/10K for municipality reports, you'll see it. You could hover over the state, you could hover over the county, and the individual town reports will pop up. You click on it, you can print them out, or you could, like I said, you could upload it and use it on your social media channels.
That's, again, kudos to New Jersey Realtors. That's a fantastic service. And it sounds like not everyone is using it to the best that they could. So look at all that research that your state is doing for you and compiling for you, and really start to think of ways that you can use that in your marketing plan. because I think that you can use the data, there it is on your screen. You can use that data in so many ways, not just to help you with trend setting, trend spotting for your business, but also to really help your clients understand what the information is telling them that they're seeing online, and also to make sure that the information they're seeing online is accurate.
And Maura, we actually have a strategic partnership with PhotoFi right now. So
Oh,
NAR launched their PhotoFi through their app, and you could download like backgrounds and stuff like that for social media. New Jersey Realtors is the first state association to have a strategic partnership with PhotoFi based on the NAR library. So you could actually get the New Jersey library, here it is, and also the NAR library. Do you use PhotoFi at all, or?
We just started to. We were really concentrating heavily in the beginning of the year on getting the floor plans and the 360 tours in place. And there was a little bit of I will just be completely transparent. I know I mentioned that I have a team. It's really just myself and my husband and an assistant who does the transaction management. So I do almost all of this stuff myself. Anything that I'm talking about, I don't have a massive team of people. So a question I get a lot is, from realtors when I teach is, how do you find the time to do all this? And that's the challenge that we all face, right? Is, so for me, I had to prioritize. The most important things for me were figuring out how to draw those floor plans and not be so type A about it that every single, to the quarter inch, I had to be correct. Finding an efficient way for me to do that for every single one of our listings. So like that townhouse I just showed you a minute ago it's about 1,200 square feet. I just got done drawing a 6,000 square foot, 3-level, $1.5 million property. And it took me maybe an hour and a half, and the townhouse took me about 35 minutes. So I wanted to get it down to a science though. So having said that, I've just started exploring PhotoFi. I've had the app, and I'm a Remax agent, and the only reason I mention that is Remax also has a partnership with PhotoFi. So I have all of these feeds now that I'm trying to determine, which options do I like, which ones do I want to use, where do I want to use them, how do I want to use them. So that's definitely on my whiteboard, on my marketing plan, but it's something that took a little bit of a backseat.
Well, Maura, I know we've gone over time. The comments I'm seeing has been great information. I want to thank you so much for taking the time, for being with us. And, I know that the New Jersey Realtors has always appreciated your friendship. And I want to thank you personally for doing this for us.
Well, thank you, Jared. And thank you to all of you who are on here.
And I also want to thank President Angela Sicoli for coming up with this idea, along with the New Jersey Realtors leadership team. This is a great session, and we have another one coming to you next week. So remember to tune in. Look for your weekly emails from us through Week in Review, and you can sign up for our next session for next Wednesday. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Maura.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.